Hey everybody, it's Christina Payne and this is The Face of Change. So welcome. Come on in. This is our space to just chit chat once a week and for me to provide a few tips to you about managing change. One of the bigger changes that most people are facing right now is back to school. It is back to school time. Yes, everyone is feeling just a little bit anxious right now because it's going to be different than any other back to school time that we've faced in many generations. So I wanted to share a few tips that may help you get through that anxiety. We all know that anything that is ambiguous, anything that's uncertain, anything that creates like vulnerability for us always comes with a level of anxiety and anxiousness, and so we should always be careful to recognize those behaviors in ourselves, recognize when we're facing some negative behaviors based on that. So first I want you to assess yourself, figure out where you are, and be open to what it is that you are feeling and acknowledge it and allow yourself to feel that. Everyone goes through change differently. There is something called the change curve, and it goes from just the shock, which we've all experienced, the shock of knowing that things are changing, to denial, to bargaining, to being angry about the change, and even as terrible as being depressed about the change. But on the upswing out of that is acceptance of the change and beginning to learn to problem solve and figure out new ways to manage the change. So you guys, I want you to be able to be honest about what it is that you're feeling so that you can work your way through your feelings on that change curve. Okay. Tip number 2 for you guys is get the facts. Okay, the first part of moving through change is awareness, and you become aware of things that are changing. Understanding what that change really means to you is what's going to help you to reframe how you feel about the change. When change feels hard, when change feels difficult, it's because we tend to not really understand the change very well. Or if we do understand the change, we haven't necessarily found how it's going to impact us, or we can find the positive way for us to deal with that change. So I want you to get the facts. That usually helps you to deal with it. If you don't know how school is going to operate in this new environment, start talking to your administrators, get into your parent groups, get into, any of the channels that you can get into to receive information. You're going to have to decipher between some things because, of course, in the environment that we're in, there's always pros and cons of everything. But getting the facts really does help you move through that change curve. Okay? The other is do what's good for you and your family. And don't be guilted about what your options are. Feel guilty or, just be guilted by other people's thoughts on it. It's what's necessary for you. If you need to wear a mask, if you need to take your children to school face-to-face, if you prefer online, those are all your options to choose, and you should do what's best for you. Okay? That's tip number, I think we're on tip number 3. You'll keep me honest. Tip number 4, don't discuss this in front of the kiddos. What you're feeling about it, they will pick up on it. And not only pick up on it, they will take your words and they will tell others exactly what they think and what you're saying. So be mindful of that because it creates unnecessary and unwarranted animosity in our schools. Our teachers are doing enough to teach our kiddos. Our administrators are doing enough to figure out how to keep them safe. And we really don't need the added stress of the back and forth bickering between little kids and school. And not even just the little kids, but some of the bigger kids as well. So I don't want this video to be too long, but I want to recap really quickly how you can manage change in this COVID-19 environment and facing back to school. Just to recap, the first is really understand where you are. If you're having a challenge with getting through the change curve, if you've had a tough time, you've had a lot of unexpected change during this time, you should probably start getting some skills and ability beyond just maybe this 5 or 6 minutes. You should probably, take some of the courses that I have available for you at Change T. One being, how do I get through the change curve? Tip number 2 for you is to get the facts. That usually always diminishes some of the anxiety that we feel, especially when we're in vulnerable and uncertain times. Getting the facts really does help us understand what is really happening to us and how it's going to impact us. Tip number 3, which is always good in any case, do what's good for you. Don't be guilted by anyone else. Don't allow anyone else's good to impact what you feel about what you need to do and what your choices need to be. We all need to work together and empathize with others based on what it is that they need, and not assume that they're doing it just to be difficult or whatever. Just accept what it is that you need to do for you. Do what's best for you. Tip number 4, don't discuss this in front of the kiddos. Doing that is just going to create a channel for them to go out into the universe, and especially in the schools, and just create an unnecessary stress and animosity in the school systems that our teachers and administrators don't need. I am Christina Payne. I am here to help you develop the skills that you need to manage and embrace change. So let me just thank you for being here, and I will see you again next week.